Okay, and we're back here on a Friday, and let's see. Been doing a little bit of work. If you put your hands out, and there's something that starts to kind of happen between the hands, a kind of a feeling of magnetism. You also use the term current, and so just settling with that for a little bit. Okay. In fact, my very first Aikido class was very early, I guess, October. Okay, it was a club meeting. Robert Fraser Sensei had started an Aikido club, and one of the things he was talking about was that, Aikido, people probably wondered what ki was. And so he did this exercise with us. Now, there's nothing there if you look at it a certain way. So what happens is that what you're picking up is kind of on a feel experience level, not just, well, I don't know what's going on in the hands. You won't get much. So you got to kind of quiet down for a little. In a sense, you play the game. Cliff, anything on that one?
Well, I definitely feel like a warmth that is stronger than I would expect from just body heat.
Yeah. And basically in an Aikido class, there's energy. We're moving around doing movements. But we oftentimes get away from what's there. There's just empty space. I mean, is it going on when I don't put my hands out? It's a good question. But with the hands here quiet, to some sense, you sort of have to play the game that there is something there. And the word that comes up is current. Now, one of the words in Japanese is called hibiki, which can be translated as current. That, let me see. Okay, see if I can read this without my reading glasses. And this is one of my major study sections. It's a biography of the founder written by his son. Okay, the son talking about the father. Okay, and there are sections in there where the father is quoted. Okay, and the hibiki of the body is generated by the unification of mind and body. Once it is generated, it is attuned to the hibiki, the current, sound current, whatever, of the universe. As these two hibiki interact with each other, the ki of Aikido is created. That is, the hibiki of the body echoes or reverberates with the hibiki of the universe. And this path of Yamabiko, which is translated as the echo, or actually Yama is mountains or mountain echo, is the supreme truth of Aikido. Okay? So actually there's quite a bit there. One of the things is, he basically says that when you unify mind and body, then you start to pick up on this current, which he kind of describes as the hibiki, the current of the body. In other words, we have a physical body, but there are other levels of body. But mind and body, once they're unified. So one of the things which is kind of maybe not hidden, but a lot of the mind is just noise. Bruce Lee called it the noisy mind. So in some sense, and notice he says the hibiki of the body. So part of what I would conjecture there is that you have to be very easy. There's noise here, but as you settle a little deeper, there's a stage called body feel. Initially, I'm kind of thinking about the body or thinking about body feel. That's called part of the noise. Sometimes it's necessary, at least I have a direction. And this may not happen immediately, but for example, we have this, where you get kind of that buzz or current. Now I'm up here looking at the body, trying to figure out the body, trying to feel the body. Not much. So this kind of letting go. And all of a sudden, that feeling of current starts to emerge in the body. I sort of notice my breathing. That's a different path, but as you start to get in the body, you start to feel the breathing. Now, what we call that current, the hibiki of the body, is always there. And trying to shut this up is generally creates more noise. So you kind of shift a little bit, like for example, the breathing. Gets me a little bit more into the body as the body. Now, what does that do to this? As I shift in that direction, this kind of quiets down. The noise is still going on up there somewhere, but you shift your focus. Okay, Cliff, anything on that so far? We haven't done much, but actually there's a lot there in terms of, for me, what Aikido is about. Anything?
Yeah, I mean, when I said that, like with the hand holding, I feel warmth. That's kind of that's like a physical manifestation of the feeling of the ki, and like there's
Yeah,
a motion in between my hands.
yeah.
And when
There's
I
actually, yeah.
yeah, when I sit still in a mindful way, then I do feel that current continuing.
Okay. Now, since you sort of are able usually, to explain these things well, what's the difference between a direct current and an alternating current?
Ah, yeah. So
So, I'm sorry if I put you
I'm
on
not,
the.
yeah, I'm not an electrical engineer. I know that direct current is much more dangerous than an alternating current in terms of accidental shock exposure. But the alternating current switches back and forth. This feels more
Yeah.
like a direct current, I would say, or maybe current flowing simultaneously in two different directions, which electricity doesn't do, but which, ki can do.
Well, one thing that I kind of noticed Okay, is it because when we were kind of doing the body, one of the things about the body, okay, you just caught up in this noise. And I can't turn it off. And there's energy, but when maybe more energy comes up, this gets more active. Physiological changes happen. Some people, you know, I mean, diabetics, a lot of times when you get too tense, your blood sugar goes higher. Adrenals may fire if you're thinking about stressful things. We're looking at the hush money trial, and there are indicators that the person on trial is going through a lot of stress. And sometimes what happens when you're kind of under a lot of stress, you nod out. So this tends to control everything. Now, we pick an activity if you're going to do yoga or Aikido or something like that, personal growth. You're changing your thought pattern, which, you know, there's probably more productive thought patterns, but it starts with maybe a change in thought pattern. If you take up meditation or something. But one thing that happens is, you know, we were talking about just getting the body is breathing. Starts to surface a bit. And breathing is a device that can kind of get you out of the noise. Most of the time, people don't tap what's called mind. Remember what Ueshiba said, mind and body. When they go into balance, this current starts, okay? We're so overbalanced by the noise. The noise is not the mind at all. It's just what you might call, you know, an ordinary consciousness. Nado Sensei likes the word I. But when I start to feel the breathing, I'll say, okay, so I said for a second, it's like, no, we're just doing the current and the current of the body. But all of a sudden, what I began to notice, initially, it was just starting to feel the breathing. And then what I noticed after that is this as a direct current. When I start to feel the body and the breath, breathing as a type of gateway to it, I got the term alternating current, direct, alternating current. And a lot of times you kind of get waves, but there's in those sensei's terms, there's an izanagi and an izanami. And there's kind of an exchange of energy. Okay. I had a conversation with Linda Holiday Sensei a couple days ago. She just got back from Japan, and I was kind of interested in how it was, and you know, and the people I still know, and what you might call the old country. And so I got a little bit of an update. But I had a question for her because there's a word called koryu, and it's used in Aikido. There are other words, but the characters are different. Fire and water. And Ueshiba Sensei really talked about the koryu, fire and water. And so all of a sudden we start out with the direct current. And you're in a feeling mode, which means to some degree you're feeling the body. You're not just in this noise, right? And as I kind of hung with the breathing a little bit, what I kind of got is the alternating current. Apparently the exchange, fire, water, water, fire, yin, yang, yang, yin, izanagi, izanami, izanami, izanagi. It's the same term for alternating current. So there's still a current, it's an alternating current. So I'm just kind of sitting with it. It's a little different than trying to figure out, or I might check, you know, right, just ask Google what's the difference. But not direct experience. Initially, if I'm kind of used to the direct current, the alternating current might throw me a little bit. Alternating current. See that? And one thing that you sort of get with the alternating current that you might not get with the direct current, there's movement. There's an exchange, fire, right? Water, water, fire, yin, yang, yang, yin, izanagi, izanami, izanami, izanagi. And it's sort of happening through. It's not just knowledge, but it's more of a feel experience through what you might call just the state of being a bit more body conscious, not body aware. I'm aware I have a body, but I'm up here in my thoughts about the body. So the breathing itself is kind of like the alternating current kind of feeling itself at a certain level. If you just go here and quiet down and start to feel your breathing, you'll get a little bit more body. But there's a type of it's kind of a major step. And now we may know about it, in which case we get caught up here. We stay top heavy. We stay in the knowledge as opposed to kind of more the direct experience of it. So when those sensei was talking about the importance of the body, I think he was saying, you can read these words and look them up and know about them. That's information. It's good information. But there's a shift after a certain point. As I'm kind of hanging with it, there's kind of a quiet. The other thing that happens, there's motion, but that motion happens through space. So space is something I start to pick up a little bit as I settle a little deeper. And if I check my body, posture is good, kind of settled in. Feel my feet. Feet are kind of, in some sense, alive and vibing down there. But I stay kind of with the experience of the moment, which is that alternating current and the breath as a gateway to the alternating current. Anything you might want to add or can add?
Yeah, actually. What I didn't describe from a physics point of view is that, current in terms of electricity is
Yeah.
the movement of electrons in a particular direction, the flow of electrons. And direct current means that flow just keeps going in one direction. And alternating current means that it switches directions periodically using an alternator, literally, to switch it from, clockwise to counterclockwise or whatever. But you said something just now that was really very analogous, which is breath, right? Breath is a kind of alternating current, right? You breathe
Yes, it
in
is.
and then you breathe out. It's very analogous. Qi flow itself. Oh, we have another
We got
person here.
your body here. Let's see.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Maybe.
Yarrow.
Okay. Hi, Yarrow. We're going over a little
Anyway,
bit. Yeah, go on.
yeah. So just to finish my thought before, otherwise I will forget. Um,
Yeah.
in Qi, breath is like an alternating current, but Qi is like two direct currents going simultaneously. It's like any spiral in Aikido is more like a double helix. It's two spirals, that you can click your body into either one at any given moment. And like, I'm going to spiral this way and I'm going to spiral that way. But there's this sense that the Qi spirals are continuing simultaneously in both directions all the time. And you're just joining the flow of one spiral to the other because you have a physical body that can
Yeah.
only be in one place and one time. But ki is more like quantum superposition. Anyway, that's
Okay.
my sense of it, as an analogy. Hi, Yara.
Okay. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
it.
Okay. Anyway, uh, let's see. So, anyway, Yara, you kind of tuned into the twilight zone today. So, and right here, for example, there's motion this direction, but then again, you can switch with motion the other way. For example, here, I'm turning right to left, and the spin is right to left, left to right, but all of a sudden I can reverse. And the spin is left to right, and all of a sudden I do that, and all of a sudden, now we're, to some degree, the body's turning right to left, but the spin is left to right. If I'm moving, you can do the same thing on the other side. Good. Some quantum adjustments here. So, that part of it is okay. Now, the movements that we do here, to some degree, I would just say is kind of like direct current, even though they're different moves. So we have a movement. We started actually from movement number 5. And went through movement number 30. And that's kind of like what you call your direct current. You put your hands out like this, and you have to sort of play a game, okay? In other words, it's like I'm just holding my hands here. My arms are getting tired. What's going on? People are talking about stuff I can't see. We all spend time there. But easy there. And all of a sudden, there's a feeling of maybe a magnetism or a flow or a current between the hands. Okay? And then what happened? Yarrow came in. We kind of, where Shiba essentially talked about the hibiki of the body. And hibiki is a very important term. It's a kind of that current, okay? And he emphasized, like the mind and body go into balance. There's this thing is generated, there's hibiki. Now there's ki. Now he talks about that later. He just said that really what happens is that, the hibiki of the body kind of starts to connect with the hibiki of the universe. Okay, and at that particular time, he says that the ki of Aikido is generated. And then he said that's the supreme truth of Aikido. Okay? So we're kind of, as I said, welcome to the Twilight Zone today. Okay. Now, one of the things we brought up in the Aikido class, I'm feeling ki. Yeah, that current, yeah. But let's just say, let's go one further. The ki is feeling me. On a basic level, we start to set up what Sensei called Yamabiko, the echo. And that echoing seems to indicate creates the ki of Aikido. There's ki everywhere. All right, ki, everything comes out of ki. And Sadaharu said ki is a very dangerous word. Because if you put evil in front of ki, what do you have? Evil, ki. And ki strengthens the evil. If you put good in front of ki, it strengthens the good. He says, so ki is dangerous that way. All right? Well, Sensei told him, in some sense, he said, learn to wait. So he put him on one foot because of was a little quick putting this foot down, and he had to. In a second there, he had a little hitch, so he'd go this way, and boom, boom. Learn to wait means that in some sense he kind of started to tune into, on some level, the hibiki of the body. Mind gets easy. Dang on one leg, you got to clear or else you're going to fall down. Find your center, whatever. And then the hibiki, well, not the hibiki of the universe, but hibiki of, let's just say, the baseball gods. You're feeling the hibiki of the body, the hibiki of the baseball gods starts to kind of feel you. And of course, the pitcher is out there being a part of that hibiki. Boom, boom, boom. I'm doing my best imitation. I wouldn't really want to pick up a baseball bat and face somebody throwing 100 miles an hour right now. So, but I would not be surprised if he gave O-sensei a baseball bat. And somebody threw at him, he'd probably go whack, because it was not just, okay, I'm good at this because I do this a lot. It was a little different. Anyway, anything before we move on?
Not for me.
Okay. Now, for example, when I kind of do this, it starts with me, that I'm feeling ki, right? All of a sudden, just play. It starts as a game. All right. If you said, well, what am I supposed to be feeling and everything? I kind of quiet there. But all of a sudden, let's just say the larger sense of ki starts to feel me. So there's a rebound echo to it. If you can't do this, then the rebound echo won't happen. The texture of the room changes for me. And physiologically, in some sense, my breathing deepens. My awareness expands a bit. So, it's not when I do that, I'm going, okay, what's supposed to happen here? You got to kind of quiet down. And if there is a shift, you kind of, you're in what you would call your sensing mode, not your, I know about it, I'm trying to do it better. It goes back and forth. What am I sensing? Well, I'm sensing the fact that I'm part of a larger field. And right now, by putting my hand out there, it kind of has a warm tingle to it. So I'm feeling that field. And another step, all of a sudden, the field starts to kind of feel me. I kind of feel kind of a center forming around. All right. So again, that's just this practices in what we call energy sensing. That's different than I know about it. I'm practicing it. It's a little different level. Anything before we get up and move?
Oh, no, that sounds all good. I definitely, felt that yesterday during class.
Yeah, yeah. It's a tricky one because in some sense, this is. Right? I remember after one quarter of Aikido, the fall quarter, 1969 is when I started, and then starts up again in January of 1970. Okay, and Robert Fraser Sensei says, "I hope you've all been practicing this over the holiday." It was just just the current practice, the energy current practice. All right, one time we did a demonstration, the Aikido Club for Merrill College. There was a big spring event, so we went out and did a little bit of Aikido on mats, and then we got a whole quad full of people to kind of do the practice here, and everyone was, "Ooh, what's going on?" And afterwards, Robert Fraser kind of was talking to the club members and says, "Hey, we got a couple of hundred people here that felt ki." And that was, that was kind of cool. Okay. And sometimes we get so busy in the actual practice that we don't realize that this is going on. Okay. In some sense, it creates the practice. Anyway, that's anything before we get up.
Not for me.
Okay. Yarrow, anything? This is kind of nutty, but anything come up for you? Doesn't have to, by the way. You don't even have to say anything. So
No, but well, actually, I do feel something in my hands the last two times we've done it, but it's hard for me not to just say it's like some kind of psychosomatic thing.
yeah, I'm being hypnotized.
Yeah.
Suggestion has been planted, so yeah, I know that's kind of one of the things that we're all susceptible to it. I mean, how much fake news is floating around out there in the world right now? But after a bit, this becomes direct experience. Doesn't have, doesn't depend on where you picked it up or whatever it is. And then, just sitting, kind of settling. That's all around. But the most tangible thing is kind of a vibration glow around the body. A vibration glow around the body. Yeah. And sometimes, there's people that are, kind of like really, in a certain way, superior, right? Again, Elle and I, we went to a Warrior playoff game, the last year they were in Oakland. And I wanted to go because, I grew up with the Warriors pretty much playing in Oakland. They were initially San Francisco, but they moved to Oakland. And so most of my experience of the Warriors was Oakland. And so we're just watching both teams, and both teams had all-stars. Okay. And so she kind of says, that guy's different. I said, how's he different? She said, he's got a glow. And I said, oh, that's Steph Curry. Now, I do a lot of things. But that feeling, you've got, after a while, there's an energy field around at all times. That's knowledge. I convinced myself that yes, there was a little buzz in the room here. You know what I mean? But then that field, I'm feeling or know about that field or feel that field. But when that field starts to feel me, there's the feeling of a glow. It's the exact opposite of your body getting heavy. Body's easy. Of course, the movement starts to flow better, so you're more efficient in what you do, but there's that glow. See, I know about that. I'm thinking about it, trying to get better at feeling that. There's no glow. You got to kind of hush. So that's another form of what I might call the echo. Okay? Yeah. And, for example, the basic forms are kind of like what you call the direct current. In my head, I have some body presence. One thing I began to kind of realize right here, for example, let's just say we do the spiral thrust. See, from my standpoint, I'm not doing this, which is just arms. I'm just actually going straight that way. But rotation of the hips and the body, the thrust becomes a spiral. What's coming in at you without doing that motion, there's an incoming. You create space for it on the, and you go around that incoming, boom. But if you watch the body, you see the body is not in a rigid posture. See, from my standpoint, it's a straight thrust. But the spiral, right? So what's going on there? There are certain shapes and movements that happen within that field. And so right there. Now the other one is kind of like this and this. But if you kind of watch it, figure A, figure A. Now I know it, it's knowledge. I'm tracing the figure eight. That's a start. Feeling of the figure eight is sort of connected, one, to the field. And I'm kind of connected to that motion through what I call the glow of the body. And so there's kind of an echoing effect. You can start out feeling the field, okay? And I'm getting spacey or kind of feel weird. Okay. I'm relaxed, be easy. And all of a sudden, I'm starting to know about it. I start to feel it. And all of a sudden, that feel starts to feel me. So maybe there's a feeling of a glow, of a better sort of sense of flow, 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 flow. So yeah, I've got about there, for example, we're kind of going into not just the form, which is kind of like to some degree the direct current, into what we call the alternating current. But okay, no, we're going here. But that motion can reverse anytime. That and that happened very simple. That and that happened very simple. That and 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 that. So it's all kind of a progression out of, again, just sort of feeling the body. And as you start to feel the body, you start to pick up the vibrational current nature of the body. And then all of a sudden, start to pick up. See, there's a whole, as much as I'm feeling that current through the body, that current in terms of a field is starting to feel me here. So it's an echo. And right about there, then we start to naturally happen. And so, it's something that I tend to work on. Okay. So now here we are in the twilight zone, so to speak. Any questions or?
Not for me at
Anything-
this time.
Anybody want to? Okay. Yarrow, anything come up? Or?
No, just taking out the staff for a first time. I mean, taking it out for the first time in a while.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you go back to basics, let's start out with the hands. And there's, there's a magnetism or a current between the hands. And you have to sort of play the game a bit. All right? I think one of the major games that Ueshiba O Sensei played there's more to the universe than the obvious world. And there's more to me than who I appear to be in the obvious world. So there's kind of an echo. As I start to turn into the more of myself, I start to turn into the more of the, to use the bigger term, the universe. As I start to turn into the more of the universe, the more of me starts to kind of echo as a part of that. So it was kind of an alternating current there, so to speak. Me, the universe, me. I'm using big terms. I don't think what I get back is a universal echo per se, but it's an echo of energy. A circle, my circle, to my center to the circle. So, it exists in that sense right there. Anything?
One thing I would notice, from work, everything is kind of driven to be very efficient. And if I try, I can't feel it. If I try to be efficient, I have to be patient. And something I've forgotten how to do.
Yeah, you have to be easy. Patience, you're easy with it. If you have a lot of knowledge and you're trying to make it happen out there, you get very mixed results. So you replace, you need a certain knowledge framework. But on the other hand, a lot of it is enough. And you use the word patience. Another word that's used a lot is you got to be easy with it. I'm just sitting here. What do I notice going on? Well, the body kind of still has a little bit of a glow to it. I'm noticing, for example, that there's a nice connection. Feet to the ground surface, which is a rug. And I kind of like the fact that when this glow is going on, the movement of energy in my body seems to be nice. Heartbeat kind of slows down, gets you. Tension them because of that starts to kind of ease up. I took a deep breath. The interior starts to come more alive. So those are things that happen as you explore. You're exploring yourself, but you're also exploring Ki. And through exploring Ki, you're exploring yourself, and you're exploring to some degree some portion of the universe, so to speak. So those are big words. You can get caught up in the words and go back and forth and get smarter and then run into obstacles and get frustrated. That's all up here. And you may have feelings about it, and then this and that start to kind of get in there. And then you get emotions. So you got to be very easy there. Got to be easy. Letting go. Now that feeling of a glow is oftentimes, again, the glow comes in my own current. The current of, let's just say, the space that I'm in. I'm not by any means connecting to the universe, but as far as I know, okay. If I start to fly or something, I'll let you know. But all of a sudden, they start to talk. I'm feeling that current, the larger current around me, the current of the center, the larger current around me, let's just call that the circle, starts to feel me. And I kind of know that because, and this is again a sensing, there's kind of a glow there. The stuff up here is starting to feel, there's a calmness here. It's different. I'm calmer. Not there. There's calm. And again, that's, you start to sense it. And, let's just maybe a little bit of a framework for working what I would call some version of the Yamabiko, the mountain echo, at least our level of it. Anything come up?
Yeah, sorry, I'm talking a lot. I felt a little bit of panic, and I think when I started to slow down, I think it's just uncovering stuff.
What
Yeah.
you feel what?
A little bit of panic when I start to slow down, and I think because
You feel what?
uh,
Panic?
yeah, a little bit of panic because towards the end of my job, it was incredibly
Yeah.
scary. Just go quick, you know.
Well, when you start to get that echo back, one effect is things start to move faster. And if the degree to which I'm kind of like between, let's say you've got your thoughts, cool. Although most of the noise is not thinking at all, okay? And then you have your feelings. But as things start to speed up sometimes, when you start to get that echo, the feelings and the thoughts become emotions. And so I was like, so right about there, you got to be very easy. Feel your breathing, calm down. And the expression that the docents that used to use a lot is called hush. And you get that wave of panic. And it's a calming breath, and then maybe a lesser wave of the panic, and then sense of easy ground, less of a wave of panic. And all of a sudden, this is starting to kind of feel calmer in here. And the calmer in here starts to talk to the calmer out there. And then you're kind of back to some level of the mountain echo. And this term Sensei used, and it's not explained very well. Because I think, he's an old school teacher on some levels. I mean, talk about the larger philosophy of Aikido, which is very inspiring. But when he's talking about the progression, the actual, in other words, it's okay. You may like my words, you may like the movements, but you may also notice me, meaning Sensei talking about himself, and you may notice that I don't necessarily fit your description of you. And the question is, are you satisfied with your description of you? Or in your own way, you can't copy me. Would you rather go more along your path to where you're more around my progression, your relationship with yourself, self's relationship with, the universe is a big term, but the space around you, the center, and your circle around that center. As you refine this, that starts to broaden, deepen, refine this some more. That starts to kind of expand. And so, that's, I think, what he was talking about. And sometimes as you start to do that, there's a lot of juice that comes up. And so a lot of times you get the panic. All right. I mean, if we go back to Mr. O right there, he's very good in high school. He could both pitch and hit. He goes to the big leagues, and he starts to. The second that he starts to, he gets a panic attack. It's a hitch starts, and his coach doesn't know what to do with it. But the coach is, was studied Aikido with the Ueshiba O sensei. So he said, we got to take this to O sensei. O sensei looks at O and says, you learn to wait. Right now you're a little too, put you on one leg so you establish the center. As you kind of really establish that center, the game, baseball in your case, the circle, starts to line up to the center. Then, boom. And hit 868 home runs. Arguably, he's the best hitter ever in baseball. They don't acknowledge him over here because he's Japanese, which I think is really a shame. But, they're American All-Stars toured Japan, and the Yomiuri Giants, O's team, they came over here sometimes to participate in spring training. And the Hall of Fame pitchers like Bob Gibson and Tom Seaver, Hall of Fame talent, they lit him up. I mean, he lit him up. They said he had no weakness. You couldn't throw the ball past him. You couldn't, get him out throwing breaking pitches, and you couldn't fool him by changing speeds. And he was strong on all locations. He's going to fail 7 times out of 10, but the 300 average means that, he was an all-time great. And not only that, he hit with power. He hit home runs, not just base hits. And he hit for a high average, and he was very good within the structure of the game itself. So he drove runs in. He produced runs, not just hitting home runs, produced runs. So, argument that he was kind of in his own way like the O-sensei of baseball. But he was Japanese, so people don't pay attention. Anyone? Okay. Just since we're on some topics here, the glow. A trophy. I mean, the Warriors bottomed out in the playoffs a couple of days ago. Yeah. And they left Curry on an island for the other team could just beat him up because the other team realized it's like, if we can kind of stop him, they can't win, which is true. And the other teammates, the obvious ones, just didn't produce anything to help him out. So, they just left him on an island. But you know what? He still got his glow. Win or lose, that's his trophy. Still special. So, in that sense, and then that being with that glow, which means to some degree, you're feeling your own energy. And then around is feeling you back. There's a little bit of you always panic sometimes. It's like, what do I do? In other words, if you haven't been here, sometimes it's a little odd. So you're easy with it. And this balances. That kind of comes into accord with this. They talk. And they produce the glow. Stand up or sit down. Or just kind of sit for a bit. And I'm noticing that dialogue in here is, for the moment, absent. The breathing is easy and deep. My attention is kind of sharp. And it's almost like it extends behind me a bit. Of course, I see the reflection through the screen that was behind me. But anyway, yeah. So that's my description of what it feels like a bit. You're if you practice, you'll get it. So there are all always what happens, for for trophy case because of that. This and that go into some talk and produce kind of that. That's the way I was saying.
Sensei, are you there?
I think he's having connection problem.
Yeah, his audio kind of went out and then kaboom.
Yeah. Well, guess it's almost that time, so I guess I'll get going now.
Okie doke. See you Sunday, I hope.
Yeah. I'll see you Thursday. I can't make Sunday.
Okay.
Bye.
Anyway, let's see. Cliff, if you're still there, we're kind of ended the meeting. The stuff here, I don't know, my iPad
Yep.
is.
Yeah, Yarrow headed out. I'm gonna head out. All right.
Yeah.
See you
Anyway,
Sunday.
I think we're on time. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed the class. It was a kind of a Twilight Zone class.
No, it was great.
It was
Thank
pretty
you.
good. Okay. You take care.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Let's see. Bye-bye. Share. Pause, stop recording. according to the